The cast of the day, we dissect the news. Flipping on the edge, choices to choose. Politics and laughter, a blend that's so real. Tune in for the stories that make you feel. With guests from every angle, let's bridge the divide. Finding the truth in the humor we can't hide.
Okay, so we are back.
We're back.
Again.
In a new configuration.
A new configuration.
With a new guest.
Power of special effects.
And our new guest is so happy to be joining us.
I was strongly encouraged
He
to
was
be here.
strong-armed to be here. Coerced.
Well, so we should do this. Would you like to introduce your significant other, or
Yes, we'll call him my husband.
Your partner. Partner in crime.
Yes. We just a couple weeks ago had our 30th wedding anniversary.
Oh,
Congratulations.
congrats.
Woo! My husband, Anthony Thorpe. And I'll just say, I said we've been married more than 30 years now. So.
yeah,
Well.
we just crossed 25.
So can we ask, how did you meet? Are we allowed to ask those?
Yeah, we met at the gym.
You've told me that.
At the gym down off of Vickers and Academy.
That's right.
At the time, it was called U.S. Swim and Fitness. The nickname was U.S. Swim and Flirtness.
Clearly.
It worked. It worked.
Yeah, we were in aerobics together.
Oh.
I think I broke a Frankenhill doing a grapevine.
I do not remember that, but whatever. Particularly at that time, there were not a whole lot of guys who did aerobics. So he stood out. He's 6'2",
Yeah.
and in aerobics, he stood out.
And had some moves.
he had some rhythm.
Yeah,
Some
all
moves and
right.
some rhythm. Fantastic.
So, yeah.
Wow.
Now I just play at that place called the Whiskey Rose down there, the same
I
place.
like that place.
Yeah, that's,
I mean, I like the name of it
yeah.
because,
Yeah.
well, we like to dance in country western. I've done a lot of that.
Yep.
I went to college in Tennessee. Come on, it goes with the territory.
If you see that,
We'll have to
triple
let
nickel,
you know
we'll
when
do that.
he's there.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
the old band that I've been with for about a decade now. So yeah,
Cool.
We'll be there again sometime. I don't know.
You have to let us know.
It is.
Yeah.
It's an interesting configuration because now we do Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday night. So it's a marathon. It's
long,
but there's
yeah.
usually like a headliner, and so it's fun. It's fun.
Cool.
So, how did you end up together? Was this a long process like it was with Liesl and me, or was this more of a date and see as you go, or how did this end up happening?
He asked me out 3 weeks before I moved to Memphis.
Oh, okay.
How did you know you were going to ask her out, though? I mean,
Well, it was sort of a low risk thing at
Proposition.
that point. If things, well, we had a really nice friend group going, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Very
So-
good friend group going.
So if I asked her out and it didn't go well, it was going to be awkward.
'Cause I was
see.
Oh, I
She's
see.
moving. It's
Well,
like, okay.
he was
Very
playing the percentages.
strategic.
Playing
Yeah.
the percentages. Very data driven right there. There
Yes.
you go.
I see
Man
why
after
you
your own heart.
appreciated that.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. The probability was very high
Yeah.
on the bell curve that
Yeah.
there would be an acceptance of the
And
opposite
she's like,
sex.
I like a man who takes risks.
I wasn't thinking that strategically at that point, but okay.
It was the moves. It was still the
It
moves.
was still the grapevine.
Yeah, still the grapevine. And willing to be injured in the process to impress you.
Yes.
Yeah, went a long
had
way.
You, had you gone to that particular gym or that place for a while, or was it just kind of one-off thing?
I've been going there probably 3-4 years.
Okay, so we had gone there for a while.
And we, so that particular aerobics classes are on Saturday mornings, but we also, there are different types of people that work out at different times of the day. And we were both in the before work early gym morning category, so we would see each other there at 6 or 5:30 or 6 or 7 or something. And
Oh
we
my
weren't
God,
even
5:30.
in the morning.
So
Wow.
my question is, how difficult was it? I mean, how motivated did you have to be to get up that early, knowing full well that the only reason why you were actually going there is...
No, I was going out to work out.
We were going to work out. We were going to work out.
Let's stick with that story.
We were definitely going there to work out.
Initially.
We were all in this friend group. We all ran together or whatever, and so we went to a little mini reception for friends of ours who had gotten married in Hawaii, Dennis and Susan. And he comes up to me and goes, "Gosh, that's the first time I've really seen you in street clothes." And I'm like, wait a minute. Let's see how that sounds here. Okay, just stop. So that was the first time we'd actually seen each other outside of the gym. And then shortly thereafter, I think is when you asked me out or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
So the trip to Memphis or
Didn't last long.
Didn't last long. Wow.
Well, it was
Some
Memphis.
date. Right.
A, it was Memphis, and then B, it was obviously turning into something. Didn't know what, but
willing to come back and give it a shot.
Yep.
Well, that was our gain. Thank you.
That's
We owe
cute.
you our thanks.
I was going to say, that's really nice.
Yeah.
Because who knew that 30 years on there would be a podcast?
Yes. Yes, that's the reason for the podcast.
God, I hope not.
Yeah. No. But so the sailing, the sailing is just, to those of us who don't, just like this magical thing that we all think. There's very few people that would undertake something like this in their lifetimes, and you two have done it so many times with your children. I remember when we first moved into an office together, you were off with the kids, and it was, I want to say it was like a full year that you were on the boat or something. This was early days, like when we both came on full time. And I want to say Mike might have still been the chair at that time. And you took, correct me if I'm wrong, but you took the kids and you were going literally circumventing the globe or circumnavigating the globe.
That is incredible.
So tell us about that trip. Where were all the places that we want every detail of where
How did you
went on that trip.
decide? I mean,
I know.
That's incredible. How did you decide that you're going to take your children, you're going to do something that's like only heard of like in the movies and stuff. I mean,
it's crazy.
people don't take
It's
risks
not that
like
uncommon,
this.
actually.
Really?
More people do it than you think.
To landlubbers like us.
I was going to say, that's a street.
There's probably several hundred people that do it every year.
Several hundred.
Several hundred out of the
Yes,
8 billion people on planet Earth. Yes,
it's fairly statistically
it's a lot
low.
a 0.0000001%.
But no, tell us your stories.
I had never set foot on a sailboat until I met him. And the first time he took me sailing, I thought it was going to flip over, and I was a nutcase. Like, how we ever ended up doing this is really beyond comprehension. But obviously I got over it. I mean, I can't fill in his part, but when you're dating someone and you're thinking, oh my gosh, this could be it, and he's saying things like, I really have this dream to sail around the world, and I'm like, oh, that sounds dreamy. That just sounds wonderful. Of course I want to do that. But so it kind of was a thing, and actually we did sail around the world with our kids for 2.5 years.
I knew it was like
but that was our
so
second boat together.
Oh my gosh.
We bought one before the kids. Our honeymoon was on a boat.
Okay.
While we were dating, we took some boat classes, kinds of things, in the British Virgin Islands. And then our honeymoon was a boat in Mexico. And then shortly after we were married, 6 or 7 months, we bought our first boat, did everything wrong very expensively, learned a lot.
The boat was called New Hope. We nicknamed it No Hope.
When we were done with it, it got a new name, No Hope. We learned a lot. We got Andrea, our daughter, she's our little Venezuelan souvenir, because that's where we said, that's enough.
Wow. Okay.
That's why she speaks great Spanish.
Oh.
So that was our first boat, and that would have been 96. Big learning curve, expensive learning curve. We have some stories about that whole segment. And then fast forward, that was 96. So fast forward to 2005. Anthony said, just a little bit of backstory. Sorry, I don't want to go on too long. When Anthony, you grew up in South Africa racing little boats in South Africa.
Okay. That's what I wondered. You had that background before you
Since
took
you
on
were
the bigger
7,
boat?
8, 9, something?
Yeah, but it's a little different. I mean, racing little boats has nothing to do with sailing oceans.
Correct.
And I mean, when I was a boy, I remember my grandfather's house. He had a view of the ocean from a little porthole window halfway up his stairs, and he used to stare out at the ships and go, "Wow, that sounds cool. Let's go do that."
Someday I'm going to do that.
Something like that. And then I'm also related to Captain Bligh.
Wow.
Really?
Seriously?
Yes.
Really?
You're going to sail around the world with Captain Bligh?
Wow.
Wow.
Our viewers can the Wikipedia Captain.
Yeah,
Bligh.
look up
There's-
Captain Bligh.
There's
Yeah.
a story there too. So that's
He was on the
amazing.
bounty.
Yeah, and so South Africa, that's one of the more dangerous, right? Is that the Cape of Horn? Cape Horn? What is that one down there?
Cape of Good Hope.
Cape of Good Hope.
Good Hope. Good,
Also
that's
known as
it.
the Cape of Storms. But
Yeah, I was going to say that one is pretty dangerous down there. So, wow.
I want to know, what is the biggest white pointer you've ever seen?
White
Or
point.
great white shark. Sorry, I went in the wrong region of the planet, but the biggest great white shark.
I have not seen
Never
any.
seen one.
Oh, I've never seen one.
a shark? Really? Really? But you've seen sharks. You've seen
Yeah.
Yes, we've seen
Yeah.
sharks.
Okay.
So what is the biggest ocean creature you've seen?
The one you swam with?
Yeah, humpback whales.
Okay.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah. We were lucky enough to just go down to Australia, and they were jumping out the water everywhere. That was pretty incredible.
But we weren't on a sailboat.
No, we were not. That's astounding.
I think that would be a different experience to see
Yeah.
them when you're on a sailboat.
Have you ever, sure you've come across a situation where you felt like you're in danger, or have you planned it out enough to where you avoid the currents and like the
So there's-
storms?
there's definitely the right way to go around the world.
Yeah,
The
that's
easy way. It's
And-
called the milk run.
the milk run.
Yes.
Okay. And what is that?
And so you stay out of hurricane season, but you try to stay within the tropics. So you sail in the tropical winter. So
Okay.
when it's summer in the northern hemisphere, you want to be sailing in the tropics in the southern hemisphere.
Kind of like opposite
Mm-hmm.
what's
Yes.
going on.
So
in the
you stay
other
away from the
hemisphere.
hurricanes, and then if you
Yeah.
kind of go east to west, then you catch the trade winds, and that's the easy sailing.
Okay.
And you try not to go the other way or too far south or north, because then you end up with a lot of storms and bad weather and
Mhm.
waves, and things break and you get seasick. And
oh yeah.
Yeah.
I was going to ask about that, but I just because we did that whale watching in Sydney, in Australia, not near Sydney, near Brisbane, but I get seasick.
We started feeling it
Mm-hmm.
at certain intervals. Like it started feeling it, and one poor guy just vomited all over the place. I mean, it was like a puke cannon. This poor guy.
Yes.
And he couldn't stop. I mean, it was just couldn't stop. And it was just. Like,
I think once it gets a hold of you, that's it.
Yeah, you have to get in front of it.
Yeah.
You really do. And if you don't, it's not easy to overcome.
yeah, it affects people in different ways.
Yeah.
But some people, like my sister and my sister-in-law, get chronically seasick, and they cannot recover unless they go back on land.
Yeah.
I get seasick occasionally.
You take
Really? You
Dramamine
do?
or anything? You do the Dramamine pills at all?
No,
okay.
those don't work too well for me. But
Okay.
Usually after I throw up, I feel better. So
Wow.
Much better.
Yeah.
So have
fortunately,
you,
my wife does not get seasick.
You don't?
That's why I'm still around.
Yeah.
so like I know that there's things like containers floating around. Like, do you have any way to detect any of these random containers? I saw a movie with Robert Redford where he hit one and ended up kind of like having to patch his boat together. And I forget what movie that was, but that was harrowing.
He died.
Did he? Did he really?
Did
my
he in
God.
that movie?
Yes.
Oh,
he really?
no.
Well, it leaves a little bit to your imagination. You could think that the angels came and rescued him.
Well,
We had to. I mean, we
I thought he
are
almost
jaded.
survived. Oh man, okay.
Well, I don't think so. We were jaded because we were watching that, and he's got all this equipment and these radios and everything to patch his boat with, but he didn't have the one piece of $1,000 piece of equipment.
Not
that-
even $1,000.
well, whatever it was.
Yeah.
A few $100 worth will buy you an EPIRB.
For an EPIRB, which is an electronic
emergency.
emergency
And they
positioning
flash. They like to do the flash thing.
Yeah.
And
So he had everything else except that one couple $100 that would have saved his life. So, but it was a very good movie about how you kind of have to be sorry for the old person reference, the boomer reference, a MacGyver. Look that up too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There wasn't a reboot of MacGyver, was there? Like
Yes,
young-
there was a
So
reboot.
maybe
It
young
was
people
bad.
will know that.
Yes.
Yeah, they think it's just as
Or they'll
dumb.
know the Saturday Night Live spinoff.
They'll think it's just as dumb.
MacGruber.
Yeah.
MacGruber.
They'll know that one. That's right.
That's what.
I actually think I'd be more afraid of other people.
Or like
than the
pirates.
ocean.
I used to, when you were out, I would look at your blog to see where you were, and I would worry.
Yeah.
But I mean, you told me that not
Ever
to.
had any heroin
not to worry.
situations with people or with the customs of different countries? Because I know you're sailing with sometimes not the certain port authority. I'm sure not always on the up and up, depending on where you're going.
Yeah, I think the most corrupt place we went to is probably the Galapagos, which is part of Peru.
Okay.
Ecuador.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they.
This was 2005.
Yeah, there were all sorts of special rules for special people,
And they're like,
and when you clear in, you normally have to clear in with immigration and maybe the local police, and then health and customs. But in the Galapagos, we had to hire a broker to help us navigate these things. He was a very nice guy and got it all done for like, I don't know, $70 or something like that, which was well worth it. And we asked him about it, and he says, well, there's the straight and narrow way, and then there's the everybody happy way.
I see.
Which just means
yes, I was just going to say you got to grease some
goes the money.
palms.
Yep.
And that's interesting because Ecuador is continually on this list of the top places to retire.
Yeah.
And that does not
It's
sound...
also one of the top places for the source of human trafficking too.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
That's not...
So you're
Because
not
it has a
thinking-
coastline, so they're just coming up.
Mm-hmm.
We had two. You said run into people. Actually, the people were magic. Almost everywhere we went,
very
the
lucky.
people were
That's good.
great. We had two sort of kind of scary incidences. The first one was going from Panama to the Galapagos. Yeah, Panama to the Galapagos, which is a week. I don't remember how long. A week. There were because that is a huge human trafficking, drug smuggling coast up the coast of the South and North America. Airplanes would fly over, drop their drug package, and then the speedboats would come and pick it,
I don't think that
retrieve
was
it.
happening there. We were too far out for that.
Well, what was happening out there? That we had to run dark, which I'll tell you what that means in a minute. What was happening? We had to run
No, there
dark.
was just we were on the path between
Oh.
South America and Mexico for drugs or human trafficking. I'm not sure which.
Yeah.
So there's also fishermen out there trying to make a living.
Make a living.
So do
sure.
they tell you over the radio, run dark? Because there's...
No. But we were in touch with some other boats. We had an SSB radio at the time, and
Yeah.
hear over the grapevine, so and so was chased by this other boat, and they had to
Oh,
take
wow.
evasive maneuvers,
Oh my gosh.
and they were spotted by a plane first. I'm like, oh, okay, well,
Yeah. Turn off the lights.
Now,
and-
as
let's
a-
go stealth.
Let's go
Stealth mode.
Stealth.
Which is freaky because you're supposed to have your lights on so people can see you.
Yeah.
So when you go stealth mode and you have nothing on, it's the middle of the night in the middle of nowhere. It is a little freaky.
Oh, yeah.
Because
But
the
it-
ocean is dark. Like
it's very
dark.
It
right.
could be very bright too, depending on the moon.
The moon. Right.
Now, when you are on a sailboat, you have no motor whatsoever, or you
No,
do
we have
have...
two motors.
So you have
Well-
a motor. If there's no wind, you're still moving.
If
Yeah, I mean, on that particular leg, there was a lot of motoring because the winds are very light.
Okay.
so, we didn't want to float. So
Right.
we motored.
Yeah.
Or row.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
or
you're
row. That's a
pedaling.
good
That's
point.
what I meant, of course, pedaling.
Yeah.
Now, what were your favorite spots on the big trip around the world? What are your favorite places that you dock or the favorite ports?
They were all very different. It's hard to have a favorite. They were just very, very different. If you're talking pure, and this is again 2005 through 2007, if you're talking pure beauty, like, oh my gosh, Bora Bora, the Tahitian, Moorea, Bora Bora area, hard to get to, but absolutely stunning, beachy scenery.
I love the beachy scenery. The
It
way
was just gorgeous.
the way the islands are structured, there's a very tall mountain, volcanic probably, in
Beautiful
the middle.
beaches.
They're surrounded then by a little ring of water and then a ring of coral. So you can sail almost all the way around these islands, and it's calm water, deep 60 feet, crystal clear water, lots of sea life.
Beautiful.
Oh my
It's
gosh.
very, very beautiful.
You're selling it. You
I was
are
gonna say,
selling
yeah.
It's
it.
beautiful.
Yeah.
How tempting was it to just be like, all right, and we're moving here now.
Yeah.
Everybody off the boat, off the boat.
So how
No,
do
it wasn't tempting to me.
How do you do
No.
water? Do you have a desalinator with you? Okay, and so that pumps through the system and it gets you water. And then for food, you fish or you stop in port,
We
or
weren't
you
that good of a fisherman.
You're a
We were
fisherman?
starved.
You just
Okay.
scoop them right up. Well, during COVID, you were on the boat, and I remember we'd have meetings and stuff, and I'd see the sun reflecting off you and the wind slightly tousling your hair. And I'd be like, she is sitting on the boat, or yeah, she's got the internet, and God knows where she is. I'm like, damn it.
What's your internet? Is it Starlink?
Now it's Starlink, yeah,
Okay.
and that's relatively new. So now we're on the third boat,
Okay.
and we got the boat during COVID in France. Getting into France during COVID was quite a challenge,
Yeah,
but we did it.
imagine.
Oh, yeah.
We got to France to pick up our boat under curfew.
So you bought it in France?
We ordered it.
Okay.
It was built, and we
Oh,
had to
okay.
go pick it up a year later, and the year later happened to be COVID. Or 2 years later.
Yeah.
Anyway, so in France, but that was fun. So we just got Starlink. We picked up the boat in France in April of 2021, but we just got Starlink 18 months ago, 2 years ago,
2023.
2023.
How does it compare? Is it like 5G? Is it like
It's magic.
it's like better than 5G?
It's
Well-
way better than 5G.
It's magic.
Well,
Really?
at least the 5G I'm used to.
So you have it just on the boat or all the time?
It's mounted. Anthony custom made an antenna. So we have solar panels for our electricity.
Okay.
We can generate electricity with the engines or primarily with solar panels that feed into batteries that store the electricity. And then right off of our back antenna there, Anthony made a custom antenna mount, and the Starlink antenna sits there. And we have what's called what kind of version is it called? The mobile version? What's it? Travel? What is it called?
The high performance flat version.
Okay, well, whatever. The high performance flat version. And we pay a monthly fee for the access, but you turn it on and off. Like, we are not paying that fee now because we're not there and we're not using it. So in that respect, it's quite usable and flexible. And when we go back, we'll turn it on. And we were crossing the Atlantic last summer from Virginia to Portugal. And I was literally in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean having a Zoom meeting, and
Yeah.
you could not tell the difference.
No, that
Wow.
I
It was amazing.
remember.
It is amazing.
You would on a dime be like, I can talk to you right now, and
Mm-hmm.
you were, like I said, it could have been anywhere.
So that's incredible. I mean, that really is. See, so that's the world that like the young people who are coming up are going to be living in. Instant connectivity, maybe
Anywhere.
maybe even in
Yeah.
space. I mean, there's
yeah.
probably a slight delay right between the moon and stuff. Or is it 11 minutes or something? But I mean, it's going to be very interesting to just kind of see how young people are balancing travel, work, all of this stuff.
Well, it's funny because you say that in comparison to when we went on the circumnavigation with our kids. The big thing at that time was a Game Boy. Okay, so no internet,
Game Boy, yeah.
email. Well, but we didn't have internet. We had a phone. Or how did we get email?
Basically had the equivalent of a modem,
A modem,
a 1200 baud modem.
which was very expensive.
Yes, but at least in the middle of the ocean, in an emergency, you
Yes.
can.
And we did use it one time in an emergency. Well, we used the phone to call. Our daughter got sick in the middle of the Pacific
Oh, wow.
journey. But anyway, but we didn't have that. We would get email like once a week because it was very expensive to download it.
Email once a day.
Well, you got weather. I did. Well, email sometimes came in. See why he has to correct me and be on this podcast?
Yes. See,
Every day we got
see
email.
if we needed
But
you.
no images.
No images. You could
no
not send
video,
images. It
nothing.
took too
Right.
much.
Oh, yeah.
Video.
Yeah.
It was almost like Twitter Twitter
Okay.
link.
But there was no
okay.
social media. There were no cell phones. They got to be sort of a thing when we got back starting. But the kids played on a Game Boy, and they were voracious readers because there was nothing else to do.
Yeah.
Which was beautiful. It was one of the best things we ever did because they came back very good readers.
Did they have like a Kindle, or did they actually have to
No,
bring
there
a
were no
ton of
Kindles.
books?
We had books.
Okay.
And that was a big thing among all the cruising families was trading books and finding more books. And Harry Potter was big at the time.
Yep.
And our son was a kindergartner. He was 5 and had never been to school. So if all I did was read a Harry Potter chapter every day to him, we'd done school and we did some math, whatever.
Yeah.
It worked out. He graduated from college. He got out.
Yeah.
But the interesting thing was I remember one time, so they were 5 and 7 when we left and 7 and 10 when we came home. And somewhere towards the end, Andrea, our daughter, got an email from a friend of hers, and they were talking about, her friend said, I'm going to be Hannah Montana for Halloween. And we looked at each other and said, who's Hannah Montana? we were clueless. And it was a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
I mean, it really...
You mean you
disconnected.
survived without knowing who Hannah Montana was?
I will say, and I'd be interested to see what you think, given your experience as 6th graders.
Yeah.
When you're a cruising kid, it's a wonderful way to meet other families because the kids are naturally gravitating towards each other because they're all in the same boat, and
They're in the same boat.
literally...
No, literally, yeah.
They quickly recognize we all might be here together for 3 days. We might be here together for a week, but I'm going to go play because please get me off the boat with my parents, basically. And so they'd see kids on the beach, and we traveled with several families for a whole year that we're still in very good contact with. And so it was interesting because you just go play with who's on the beach. It could be 5 years older. They could be 5 years younger. Somebody has a ball. Somebody has a bat. Just go do your thing. And we were the opposite of helicopter parents. Like, oh yeah, they're on the beach. Okay, good, great.
Yeah.
An hour later,
They're not dead.
oh, they're swimming back to the boat. That's great.
Yeah.
Oh well, whatever. They don't have a life vest. It's okay. They'll figure it out.
It's just the open ocean.
It's just
Yeah.
Hope the current's not going strong today, but whatever.
Yeah, undertow, it's all right.
Where are those sharks?
Is that a fin?
But when Andrea came back, she came into 5th grade. And she had a really hard time with that girl clicky thing.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
A really hard time. She
I can
would come home
imagine.
and say, why do I have to like her but not like her? And
Yeah.
can't we just all play? And can't we just... She had a really hard time.
Yeah.
And she's not alone. I think there's a lot of that. Even still, I mean,
Yeah.
there was in our day
The
too,
mean
but
girls.
today it is at an exceptionally different level. How interesting that she would come back, survive the natural world, and that's almost like that's solved. But then the social world, the artificial world that we've created of culture and everything else, is a much trickier, nuanced, difficult.
Those rules don't make sense.
Map that you have to navigate through, and rules change on a dime, and then with social media, it's beyond
arbitrary.
confusing. Yeah,
She had a
very
hard time with
interesting.
it. So, I mean, she's an extrovert by nature, but she struggled that year. Socially.
But you would highly recommend then traveling the earth on a boat and
Or an RV
you know.
or a... I mean, it's interesting. We've just seen kids who are just... They just have an outlook. We got... I hope this doesn't come across politically incorrect, but we would get to the point because we were going to so many different places. They're just things you can't teach from a book. We went to Australia. I think I probably told you this story. Off the coast of Australia, there's an island off the west coast is it 1,000 miles? Cocos?
500-700 something.
Something like that. And it is primarily a Muslim fishing village. But it's still Australian territory or belongs to Australia or whatever. But we really wanted to stop there because we needed some food, and they had fresh bread, and it was a break, and blah, blah, blah. So we stopped there, and this was September, and I remember because it was the same time around that Steve Irwin got killed. And that was, of course,
devastating.
a big thing.
Yeah.
And Andrea is, at that time, she would have been 10 or almost 10 or something like that. And we wanted to go onto the island, to the village, to get supplies. And she's used to being a beach kid and hanging around with all these European and Norwegian girls who do not wear a bikini top until they start needing a bikini top. So she was like, I'm just going to put on a bikini, you know, or whatever, and we're going to go in. And I was like, this is a Muslim island. You're going to put on some shorts, and you don't have to cover your hair, but you're not going to wear your bikini. That's so stupid. It's hot. Why do I have to do that? And I was like, you have two choices. If you want to go on shore, you are going to respect their customs and you can go, or you're going to stay here. Oh, she just whined for a while. But she wanted to get off the boat really badly. So off we go. We go in there, and she spotted this kid with this Muslim woman in a park. And the kid has on Crocs. We're like, wow, way out here in the middle of nowhere, this kid's got on Crocs. And so she starts talking to me, and she pokes me, and she says, why is she dressed like that? I said, well, I don't know. Why don't you ask her? So she turns to this Muslim woman. She said, why are you wearing all that clothing, or something like that? And the woman proceeded to say, I'm married and a fisherman, and this is his custom, and we dress like this out of modesty, and so I show respect. She could have read about that, but that was a lived experience that she will never forget. And so we had a couple of those, and pretty soon the kids were going, well, what color will they be on this island? Knowing they were going to be different. And that for me, I just think, again, going back to that first genre and talking about expanding your world, to have them sort of have that expansion. You, Admar, came from a different country into a different, you had to make those adjustments on a regular basis and figure out how to navigate. And it's invaluable.
Yeah.
Couldn't agree more. Yeah, that's the thing about traveling. That's the thing about that. What I find sometimes genuinely sad is having interacted with so many, kids, in different schools, how little traveling there really is. Or they'll simply say, oh, I've never been out of state. And I don't know, that it kind of sometimes just hurts because there's so much out there. And I think it expands your mind in such a way because it is a lived experience. It's like, sure, you can read about it, but it's nothing like being there and experiencing it for yourself, truly.
I mean, it's frustrating at times.
Oh, absolutely. Travel. Everything you've said about different, going to, through different customs and, border, controls. And it's like, you don't have this visa, but you have that one. So you need to contact the consulate. It's like, I've done it so many times. I'm just like, please stop. It's like, I'm here to, go visit. But that's also the fun of it, that it kind of creates a bit of a challenge. It creates a sense of adventure because nothing is going to go exactly the way you had planned it. And by the way, I do want to say, I've gone on cruises, now obviously on big cruise ships, nothing like what you've done, but I absolutely love and admire what you are doing. I've always wanted to go to Antarctica ever since.
Not going there, you can't come with us.
Because I was actually just going to say, always wanted to just say I've gone through Drake, the Great Drake Passage. And that to me is like one of those, that, like, I don't know, there are very few things I feel that give you that sense of adventure, as knowing that you have done something that only few people have actually done. And I think that is just admirable, just beyond measure. In fact, there was this phenomenal little documentary, and I'm gonna mess it up so the internet will correct me. I think it's actually called Maiden Voyage. It's about this young woman from the Netherlands, if memory serves. She sailed around the globe all by herself.
Was that Tanya Abe?
It's been several years that I've seen the movie, but I remember sitting there going, I don't know how to feel about that, but it was her father who helped her get the sailboat ready, get her prepped. And I remember it was the government basically stepped in saying, she can't do this on her own. This should not be allowed. Because at the time, I think she was like 14, 15, something. It was like, even I remember thinking, it's like, there's that sense of, I don't know, self-preservation, that knowing myself, like, I wouldn't want to do that. But there she is. It's like, you are far braver than I will ever be. Recognizing what it means to do that. So kudos to the both of you. And to the family.
Oh, I know.
Well, we're not paying for therapy, so
Right?
I was
Yeah.
worried about
That is
your
therapy.
scars.
No,
Well, it depends on who you ask.
Well, I also think that there's nothing that kills ethnocentrism like travel, because we tend to, if we don't get out there, we tend to become so ethnocentric in our perspectives and thinking, our way's the best way, our way's,
Or the only
or
way.
our way's our way's superior or the only way, and then we go and experience another culture, and we start to think, well, there's something here, they're onto something. Obviously, that many cultures are older than our, an American culture, so they are onto something, and then you start having a different lens to view a lot of things. And so that perspective is so widened. And I think without that, if you've been born in one country and still live in it, you don't ever gain that unless you do travel. For those of you that have been born in other countries and then moved, those of us that haven't, that's the only way to broaden that perspective,
Just
is to
even
travel.
taste it. And we don't even kid ourselves like it's really the same thing, but we
No.
just kind of taste it and sample it, and then you're kind of like, I liked this. Like Australia, we love Australia.
Yep.
Didn't like the flight, but that whole
What a
culture is
great
incredible.
culture. Yeah.
Italy, stunning.
Join us on this path, let's ignite the blaze. So grab your headphones tight, let's go for a ride. With every spin and twist, who couldn't run and hide? The Prime Directive, where the laughter's alive. Society's reflections, let's help each other thrive. Politics and culture, oh what a blend. Join on the journey, and let's set the trend. As we close the chapter, lend us your ear. The Prime Directive's calling, so let's pass a beer. The Prime Directive, where the laughter's alive. Society's reflections, let's help each other thrive. Politics and